What is going on, everybody out there in the YouTube trucking community? Sean Cahalan, Christian Brother Trucker, coming at you again with another video. I've got really good 5G signal, so I'm uploading quite a bit of content today. I'll tell you, the struggle is real when you're trying to upload videos, and because the way I do it is I pre-record it on my camera and then I upload it. And if I don't have a good 5G signal, it takes forever to upload a video. So, I'm going to be talking about the truck driving path and a little bit about what path is right for you, and my advice to drivers out there that are thinking about getting into trucking, that are thinking about, the lifestyle in general of trucking, and thinking about what it may be like, because, trucking is diversified. There's all kinds of different trucking out there that you can choose from. And what direction you decide to go on is going to be dependent upon a lot of different factors in your life. And some of these factors you might not be considering, and you might not know what kind of limitations you might be faced with when it comes to some of the choices that you have out here in trucking. Now, this perspective and this advice is coming from somebody who's been out here off and on for 8 years. And I've done everything from company driver to lease operator to independent owner operator, where I had my own LLC, my own DOT MC numbers. I had an EIN. I was filing as... I had a partner who had a truck, and I ran for 9 months and ran freight directly off the load boards and all of these things. And so I've learned a lot, and I've done a lot of mistakes, and I've made a lot of mistakes. And I can tell you some advice, some little nuggets of wisdom coming down from somebody who's been out here, tried that, did that, been there, done that kind of thing. And you've got to realize that people that are coming into this industry are not well prepared. And what I mean by this is, you go through truck driving school, and the truck driving school, they're like, oh yeah, you can be an owner operator and independent, blah, 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 and you can go do your own thing, be your own boss, and blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of disinformation, and there's just a lot of bad advice of people that'll tell you that trucking is a get-rich-quick program and that you can go from rags to riches, right? That's the big misleading. It's just a big old bag of lies. And I'll tell you, the statistics don't lie. And what do you mean by that, Sean? Well, I'm going to tell you. Statistically speaking, 80 to 90% of all owner-operators, independent contractors, fail within the first year. Well, why did they fail? Well, because they make the wrong choices based off the wrong priorities. And so you try to go do something, and then you realize that you're not set up as an individual in your life to take on the responsibilities, to make the sacrifices that need to be made. And so your responsibilities are outweighed by the responsibilities of running a truck. Now, don't worry, I'm going to get more specific on what I'm talking about. I know I throw out generalities in there, but then I dive in and dissect it a little bit more. Okay. So let's say that you're a young man, and let's say you're 25 years old and you're in truck driving school. And you're going through the training, and you're learning how to back up the truck, and you're learning how to drive and turn, and just getting to know the basics. You're just now getting your CDL. And, you're at truck driving school, and everybody's like, yeah, trucking's the life of freedom, and you can go and be your own boss and get your own truck and lease your own truck on with this mega fleet, and you can go do this and you can go do that. Well, that may or may not be true, because there's a lot of things that you might not be thinking about. And as a young man, you've got to be able to take a proper look at your life and be able to take a proper look at the sacrifices that you have to make and what you're willing to sacrifice in order to gain what it is that you think that you want. Okay? This is where people have to be really careful on what they decide to do. So, to give you an example of this, let's say you're 25 years old, just get your CDL, and you go and you sign up with, I don't know, and sorry, CR England, I'm just going to use you as an example, because it's what I did. Okay? 25 years old, you got a kid at home, you got a wife at home, and, you know, the wife may be working, maybe not, but your income is very important, and, you know, you're depending on that income to come in. And you decide, I'm going to go to work for this company, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lease a truck. Okay, great. So, you know, nobody tells you any possibility about you not making any money. You just automatically assume, hey, I get in the truck, I drive it down the road, and I'm going to make money. It's turnkey business, right? Come be independent, learn to be free, learn to be your own boss, make tons of money. They don't tell you the truth. They don't tell you the whole picture, because if they told you the whole picture, nobody would sign up. Nobody would be willing to take the risks, and if they were facing reality and they were given all of the information before they signed on the dotted line, got in that truck and started driving it down the road. And so I'm going to tell it to you straight. If you look at your life and you're dependent upon making a steady paycheck, do not lease a truck. If you have kids at home, you have a mortgage or rent, you have a car payment, you have dependents at home that are depending on you being able to make a steady income, being able to make a steady paycheck, you know, either A, number one, you might want to question whether trucking is the right path for you, because it's going to be rough the first couple of years that you come out here, and I'll kind of dissect this a little bit more for you. But to go from having just gotten your CDL to jumping into a lease truck, you have no idea how to do the job that they're wanting you to do. You don't know how to navigate. You don't know how to run your logs. You don't know how to manage your time. You may or may not even know how to slide your tandems to manage the weight so that you don't get a ticket. And you're definitely not going to know some of the more important factors of how to maximize your running, fuel, maintenance, what you can put off with your maintenance, what you can't put off with your maintenance, and how to manage all of your monies in order to ensure that you're going to make it. Well, why wouldn't you know this, right? Well, because you've never been out here. And so if you think, and this is just, it still blows my mind that companies do this with drivers. They take drivers that have, 6 months experience, and they go, oh yeah, you've got enough experience. Go ahead and jump in that truck and we'll lease it to you. At the end of the day, what happens is and I'm going to use Night Transportation's lease program, because there's a guy that I'm following on there. He's been leasing. He was a company driver before, and he's claiming that he makes more as an independent lease operator. But the fact of the matter is that he's not accounting for taxes. Okay? And so he's making maybe $5,000 to $10,000 more per year projected out if he continues to do what he's been doing over the last couple of months. But nowhere in his spreadsheet, nowhere in his calculations is he factoring in taxes. Okay? Now keep in mind that your expenses and what you're going to be able to run the truck for versus what you're going to make as a company driver after taxes is going to be pretty comparable. But the one thing that you don't have as a company driver is the risk. Well, what do you mean by risk? Okay, truck breaks down, or you have a mechanical issue with the truck and it spends 2 days down in the shop. Well, if you're a company driver, guess what you get? You get breakdown pay. You also get the same rate per mile, empty or loaded. If you're an owner operator or lease operator, you're not going to get paid for the empty deadhead miles. Or in certain lease programs, you're going to get paid a lesser amount for any deadhead miles that you have to incur while in between loads from empty to your next load. And with certain companies, you don't get paid for the miles that you need to get home. And as an owner-operator, you may or may not get paid for the miles that you're going to have to come out from the house to get to your first load. Or if you do, it's going to be at a lesser rate. All of these factors are not explained to you as a brand new driver, fresh CDL holder, coming out of truck driving school. You're just told about the buzz. All the positive things that are completely made up, that are potential of what you can do. Okay? Now here's the fact that a lot of people don't realize. The numbers that they come up with are the maximum amount. You know, it's like those little statements like, make up to X amount per year as an owner-operator, blah, 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 blah. But what they don't tell you is who is making that much. Give us a real-life scenario on who is that guy that made, $100,000 a year in the lease program. Because what you're going to find out is he's probably got a couple of years experience. He's probably been leasing a truck for a long time. Probably knows what he's doing, knows about business, knows how to operate his truck, knows how to operate and manage his expenses, and knows a lot about trucking in general. Probably never goes home, probably is single, lives on the truck, and has no expenses at home that he has to worry about. No rent payment, no car payment, no wife and 3 kids at home. He may have to pay child support, but hey, a lot of us truck drivers out here, let's face it, we're single or we're divorced or whatever the case may be. But all these details they don't tell you. They don't tell you that the guy that's leasing the truck that's making $100,000 a year, is a single trucker who never goes home, and he's really good at running this truck. So you, as somebody who has, let's say, a wife, kids at home, 2 kids, you've got rent that you have to pay, you've got car payments that you have to pay, you've got mouths at home that you have to feed. There's no way you're going to be able to make enough to have enough left over to pay for your bills at home. And they don't even have you look at that. They don't have you look at your personal finances to see, are you even viable? Are you a viable candidate to be able to lease a truck? Because if they were to do this to half the drivers out there, they would look at their personal finances and they would say, well, I need to make $80,000 a year. And if these companies were to tell the truth, they would look at you and go, you'll gross $100,000 a year. But when you're done with taxes, you guys get the point, right? They don't tell you everything. The hype that goes into the lies, they really take advantage of people that just don't know any better. And the reason why they don't know any better is because of all the hype that's put around it, right? So, and the big thing is oh, it's no money down, it's a walk-away lease. You don't have to have good credit. We'll have you make a deposit and we'll just take that out of your settlements. And it ends up being like $2,500 or $3,000 that you have to put down, and they'll take it out of your settlement starting out. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. But at the end of the day, when you look at the lease and you look at how much interest charges you're being charged within this lease structure, you're being charged like 20 to 25% APR on the payments of the principal, the payments on the principal in that lease structure for 36 months. Okay? So you're high risk. Okay? You don't need credit. you're high risk. We're going to charge you 25%. If you had decent credit, if you were financially feasible, if you had a large amount of money to put down, you could go to a regular banking institution and go buy a truck and put some money down and end up at like 10 to 15% instead of 20 to 25%. And you would be money ahead, right? But they make it easy on purpose. And they don't tell you what you should know. And they don't tell you the reality of it. And then once you sign on the dotted line, you get in the truck, you get out there, you're committed. You're already in it. So what are you going to do? Well, you don't want to fail, right? So you're going to sacrifice. You're going to start sacrificing home time. You're going to start sacrificing rest and relaxation. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be grumpy. You're going to have all of these financial responsibilities that you have no idea how to manage. You have no idea how to operate. And all of these things because you're just grossly inexperienced. And these companies know this. They don't care. They just want your butt in the seat because you make them money. And every load that you run, they make money right off the top. They make money whether you make money or not. If there's one thing that I can tell any new driver coming into this industry is don't lease a truck out of the starting gate. Please don't lease a truck out of the starting gate. Okay? If you are looking at a company and they're pressuring you to lease a truck right away, Prime Inc., I don't know what companies out there are really pushing leases, but if your company that you're getting ready to go to work for has company trucks and lease trucks, and they're pushing you into a lease, or they are pressuring you to lease, or they're trying to put a bunch of hype around it, get out. Go find a different company to work for that's not going to pressure you to do something that you shouldn't be doing. And if you have questions about this, hit me up in the comments. But I'm just really sick of these companies putting new drivers into these situations and scenarios that they have no business being in because they just don't know any better. And they think it's all going to be great. And then, they end up sacrificing everything for that truck, including their family. They'll lose their car, fall behind on their rent, risk getting divorced, risk going into bankruptcy because they decide to try to stick out this lease program that puts them so far behind because they run into a problem and they can't make a paycheck. So, you've got to realize that when you come into trucking, you don't know anything. And until you get experience, at least with the driving job, through a company job, that's the best place that you can start out. There's companies out there that'll pay you $40,000, $50,000 a year fresh out of driving school. And on top of that, you're paying your taxes the entire time. And you have no heavy responsibilities and financial responsibilities that are tied to a truck. And you don't have this constant pressure of, I have to perform X amount, 1,500 miles a week just to break even. If you drive and you make 1,500 to 2,000 miles a week, you're going to get a check for $700. But if you're leasing a truck and you only do 1,500 miles, you're getting zero. Truck payment gets made. All your lease payments get made. All of the fees that are associated with the operating of that truck, that's going to get paid. And the company gets paid off the loads that you ran, so they take their portion right off the top. So they're making money. And if you've been in leasing for a while, you might sit there and go, well, why is it that I can't get over 3,000 miles a week? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they don't want you to succeed. They want you to do just enough to where they make money, and you keep chasing that carrot. Now, with all these different options that you have when you come into this industry, you've got to take a look at your priorities. Now, me as a Christian man, my first priority as a man is my family. I will never choose my wife. I will never choose my career over my wife. If my wife tells me, I want you to come home, I don't want you being OTR anymore, I can't handle you being gone, I'm out. I go home. I will never put my career before my wife. The next priority is my family. I will never put my job before my family. If I have a priority or a choice where I'm looking at one or the other, then I will, make the proper choice, and I will put my family first. As a man that is, a provider, we have to understand that what we love is going to be what we follow. Our priorities, and this is so subtle, and this is so easy to miss in life, okay? If you love your desire to be an independent owner-operator more than you love your family, what you're going to do is you're going to make the choice to lease a truck and to stay committed and put everything into that dream, and the wife's going to suffer, the kids are going to suffer, you're going to fall behind on your rent, you're going to have all kinds of financial issues come down because you put the wrong priority first, because you're taking unnecessary risks, and a lot of times it might just be because you don't understand the gravity of the decisions that you're making, but you might not understand that your priorities are flipped. And that as a man with a CDL, your CDL is your ticket to income. But when you step into a lease program, you are no longer guaranteed to make an income. Your income is based on your profit and loss, your operating of that truck. So then basically what you do is you take your fate or your destiny or whatever, and you're handing it over to the company, and you're saying, I will serve you and I will put you first, and that truck is more important than my wife and my life at home and all of this thing. And it was just based off that one desire. And that desire is to be your own boss. It comes from a spirit of rebellion. We don't like control. We don't like to be told what to do. But as a Christian, I can tell you, and if you are a Christian, you may understand this, and if you aren't Christian, you might want to take this under consideration. Jesus tells us that we are to serve. We are to be good servants. We are to be humble, and we are to be good servants to our masters. If you look at your employer and you realize the relationship that you have with that employer, they are your employer, your boss, your master. They are the ones that you work for, and they are the ones that pay your bills. However, you must remember that your priorities need to go God, family, career, in that order. Because God made Adam and Eve, and then the two became one. So that's your first priority right there. If you're married, that's your God, spouse. Okay? So when you and your spouse get together and you start making babies, now you have children. That's your next priority. Okay? Well, your next priority is to provide. If you get these priorities flipped and you start chasing your own selfish desires to be independent owner-operator, then what you're trying to do is you're trying to be your own boss, be your own God, call your own shots, spirit of rebellion, do what I want, how I want, when I want, and there's like no humility, no humbleness in any of that. There is no willingness to serve your employer. But your employer also has to realize that as a man, you have priorities, and you need to stand up for those priorities, and those priorities need to be kept in order. So, you're coming in the trucking, you're looking at different career opportunities, just keep that in mind. your priorities need to be straightened out, and you need to keep your priorities in their proper arrangement. If you get them backwards, your life will be turned upside down and inside out, and it'll be a disaster. Take it from somebody who's done this and who used to suffer from this. I've done it multiple times. I've put my priorities backwards and had everything inside out and upside down. But by the grace of God, has He gracefully delivered me out from my own delusion and my own sinful ways, and has helped me to, realign. When I humbled myself, turned to Him, looked to Him for guidance, He straightened all this out in my life, and my priorities are now set. And, if I can give anybody any advice that's coming into this trucking industry, is get your priorities in line. And make sure you stick to those priorities, and make sure that you keep it balanced, and make sure that you realize the risks that are involved with leasing a truck. Now, if you're one of those guys that has a working spouse, you have multiple lines of income, multiple streams of income, and your income is not the only income that's coming in, it's not as much risk, right? So you may be one who can lease a truck and be successful. If you're single, hey, knock it out, man. Lease a truck. And I tell guys, especially young guys, this. I'm like, if you don't have any responsibilities at home, you don't have a wife, and you don't have kids yet, and you don't have a lot of overhead expenses that you're trying to keep up with, lease a truck. Live in that truck. Take time off every now and again, but lease a truck, live in that truck, and pound out as many miles as you can and pay off that truck. Because if you pay off that truck and you successfully complete a lease program, now you have an asset, and you're able to do that. Well, why? Because you have different priorities, right? You don't have mixed priorities. You're able to take that risk because you don't have the responsibility that you don't have the same responsibilities that a married man with 2 children at home has. Now, it's irresponsible for the married man with 2 children to take those kind of risks because he's being irresponsible with his decisions and doesn't know any better, and usually it's made out of folly or ignorance. But the single guys, man, I'm telling you, knock it out. Go lease. These lease programs are made for you. Or if you have a girlfriend or a spouse, you guys don't have any kids yet, you want to team up and you want to go out on the road together, knock it out. But just take a realistic view at things, and just be honest with yourself, and just make sure that the risks that you're taking in your career are in alignment with godly priorities, and you'll do well with your decisions. But if you get this wrong, I'm telling you, the costs that are involved with falling on your face is bankruptcy, possibly losing your home. If you own a home, you're going to get foreclosed on because you're not going to be able to make your mortgage payment. You might end up having cars repossessed, all kinds of stuff. And you may end up getting a divorce. You might end up with child support for the next, 15 years. If you lose your spouse, you lose the house, you lose the spouse, you're going to be singing a country song. And us truckers, we know some country songs, right? So, just some words of wisdom from a godly man. Putting that out there for all you guys out there that are trucking. And just know the risks. And put some really good thought into what it is that you're thinking about doing out here. If you make the right decisions, you humble yourself, you just concentrate on getting your CDL, getting a good, decent company job, and getting really good at driving and doing your job well. Because that's the righteous thing to do, is to do your job and to do it to the best of your ability. And gain the knowledge and experience that you need before you start thinking about taking on the additional risks of trying to run your own business and taking on all of this extra risk involved. Risk and rewards go hand in hand, yes, but you've got to know what you're getting yourself into, and you've got to take a realistic view and ask yourself, is it worth it? Because the potential is you can get involved in it and you can fail. Can you fail and survive? Can you fail and hold on to your wife? Can you fail and hold on to your house? Can you fail and hold on to your cars? Can you afford to fail? If the answer is no, it's not worth the risk. So those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching. God bless you all. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe and share. And as always, God bless you all.